Look who finally stopped giving a fuck. Hello to the ones who woke up different. The ones who looked in the mirror and didn't even recognize the person staring back. Hello to the glitch in their comfort zone. The disruption in their fake peace. The storm they never saw coming. Because something shifted, didn't it? Something deep inside you snapped, rewired, reset. And now you're walking around with this new energy, this don't fuck with me attitude, this unshakable aura that makes people physically uncomfortable the moment you enter a room. And while they're losing their goddamn minds over it, you can see it. The way they freeze mid-sentence when you walk in. The way their smiles glitch like broken code. The way they shoot each other those looks. That silent, panicked question in their eyes. What the fuck happened to them? And the beautiful part, the part that makes you want to laugh, right in their confused little faces, is that you're not doing a damn thing wrong. You're just existing differently, showing up as the version of you they tried to bury, the version they prayed would never wake up. The version that makes their little manipulation tactics look like playground games. They thought you were safe, predictable, that you'd stay in that box forever, apologizing, shrinking, dimming your lights so they could feel brighter. But then you did the unthinkable. You stopped playing their game. You stopped nodding along. You stopped pretending their mediocrity was acceptable. You stopped laughing at their bullshit jokes. You stopped tolerating disrespect disguised as banter. You stopped accepting breadcrumbs and calling it a feast. And now they're fucking terrified because the person they could control is gone. Let me tell you what's really happening here. They're not uncomfortable because you changed. They're uncomfortable because you finally stopped pretending. And in a world built on performances, politeness, and fake smiles, your authenticity is a goddamn declaration of war. It's a refusal to play along. It's an insult to every compromise they made, every part of themselves they sold, every dream they abandoned for comfort. You're walking proof they didn't have to settle. They chose to. And that realization is eating them alive from the inside out. Every single time they see you. Remember when you used to explain yourself? When you'd apologize for existing too loudly, for wanting too much, for feeling too deeply. Remember when you'd shrink in conversations, lower your voice, dim your energy, just to make others feel comfortable. Remember when you thought that was love, that was friendship, that was respect. Well, congratulations. You've graduated from that prison, and they can feel the bars melting around you. It's making them sweat bullets, because the version of you they knew is dead, and they weren't invited to the funeral. You stopped texting back right away, stopped being available at their convenience, stopped dropping everything when they called, stopped accepting vague plans and last-minute cancellations, stopped giving third, fourth, fifth chances to people who didn't deserve the first one, stopped explaining your boundaries like they were up for debate, stopped defending your choices to people whose opinions became irrelevant the moment they showed you who the fuck they really were. And every single one of these shifts, every boundary, every moment of self-respect, is a mirror they can't escape. They're whispering to each other, what's their problem? Why are they acting like this? Who the fuck do they think they are? And the answer, the one they're too afraid to say out loud, is that you finally figured out who the fuck you are. And it's someone they can't use anymore. Someone they can't guilt. Someone they can't drain. And that terrifies them, because their entire relationship with you was built on your willingness to sacrifice yourself for their comfort. And now that foundation, dust. You're not rude, you're just done. You're not cold, you're just clear. You're not arrogant, you're just aware. And that awareness, that's the thing they can't stand. Because when you're aware, you see through their games. You see the manipulation disguised as concern, the jealousy disguised as advice, the control disguised as care. You see how they'd smile in your face while secretly hoping you'd fail. How they'd ask about your life while praying it wasn't better than theirs. How they'd offer support while sabotaging you behind the scenes. They built their entire sense of worth on being better than you. Smarter, more stable, more successful. And when you were down, when you were struggling, when you were the mess they could point to and say, "At least I'm not like them," they felt safe. But now you're rising, and their entire identity is crumbling. Because if you can change, if you can evolve, if you can become this version of yourself, then what's their excuse? What's their story? What's their justification for staying stuck? And they fucking hate you for it. But here's the truth. Their discomfort is your confirmation. It's proof that you're on the right path. See, comfortable people don't grow. Comfortable people don't evolve. Comfortable people stay exactly where they are, complaining about the same problems, dating the same toxic people, making the same stupid mistakes, wondering why nothing ever changes. And when someone in their circle breaks the cycle, when someone decides enough is fucking enough, it shatters the illusion they've built around their own stagnation. Your new attitude doesn't make them uncomfortable because it's wrong. It makes them uncomfortable because it's right, and they know it. Deep down in that dark little corner they don't want to look at. They know you're doing what they're too scared to do. You're saying what they're too afraid to say. You're walking away from the situations they're too attached to leave. You're setting standards they swore were too high. You're demanding respect they convinced themselves they didn't deserve. Watching you do it is like watching someone break out of a prison they've spent years pretending was a home. So they'll try every manipulation tactic in the book. Guilt-tripping, gaslighting, silent treatments, fake apologies, half-assed efforts, empty promises. They'll do everything, except the one thing that would actually work: respect you. But here's what they don't get. You're not going back. You can't go back. Because once you've seen behind the curtain, once you've tasted freedom, once you've felt what it's like to finally choose yourself, you can't unsee it. You can't unfeel it. You can't unknow it. The old you, dead, buried, cremated, scattered in the wind. And this new you, the version that makes them so fucking uncomfortable, this is the real you. The one that was suffocating under their expectations. The one that was dying slowly while trying to fit into their tiny, fragile boxes. Watch how they change their strategy when guilt doesn't work. Watch how they suddenly start love-bombing you, telling you how much they miss you, how much they value you, how important you are. But pay attention to the timing. Notice how that affection only shows up when you've pulled away. Notice how their appreciation magically appears only when you're no longer available. Notice how they only start fighting for you once you've stopped fighting for them. That's not love. That's panic. That's not care. That's control. They're losing their shit because you're no longer reacting to their usual triggers. You're not chasing when they pull away. You're not breaking down when they go silent. You're not explaining yourself every time they question you. You're not apologizing when you haven't done a damn thing wrong. You've become unpredictable, untraceable, unmovable, and in their world, a world built on control, that's terrifying. Your stillness is the loudest scream they've ever heard. Now let's talk about what's actually happening here, on an energetic level. Because this isn't just attitude, it's vibration, it's transformation, it's evolution. You've literally changed frequency. You're operating on a wavelength, They can't fucking access anymore. That's why being around you feels strange to them. It's like trying to tune into a radio station that's already moved on. They can sense something's there, but all they get is static, and it's driving them insane. You stopped matching their energy, stopped lowering yourself to meet them where they are, stopped dimming your light so they wouldn't feel blind, stopped shrinking your dreams so they wouldn't feel small, stopped hiding your success so they wouldn't feel like failures. You're existing at full volume, full brightness, full power, and now they've got two choices: rise up to meet you, or stay stuck and complain about how you've changed. But what they're really bitching about is that you outgrew them. Because the ones who are truly meant for you, the ones built for your journey, they're not threatened by your evolution. They're inspired by it. They celebrate it. They ask how you did it. What changed? What woke you up? They want to grow with you. But the ones losing their shit right now, they never wanted a partner. They wanted an audience. They never wanted an equal. They wanted a fan. They never wanted you to rise. They wanted you to stay beneath them. Forever manageable. Forever predictable. Your new energy is exposing every fake relationship in your life. And that's not a glitch. That's the feature. This discomfort you're causing, it's doing the work of 10 years of therapy. It's showing you exactly who was there for the real you, and who was only there for the version they could control, drain, or dominate. And yeah, it hurts. It's lonely sometimes. There are moments you question if you made a mistake, but then you remember what it felt like to live small, to play small, to be small. You remember that loneliness is better than fake company, because they're not uncomfortable with you. You're just a mirror, and mirrors don't lie. Every boundary you set reflects the boundaries they're too scared to set. Every standard you uphold exposes the standards they've compromised. Every time you choose yourself, it reminds them of all the times they didn't. Every time you stand firm, it highlights all the times they folded. And they can't handle that reflection. So they try to shatter the mirror by calling you the problem. But you're not the problem. You're the solution. You're the answer to the question they're too scared to ask. What would my life look like if I stopped betraying myself? You're living proof that you can survive choosing yourself, that you can thrive without their validation, that you can build a life that honors you first, and everyone else second. And that possibility, it fucking terrifies them, because it means every excuse they've ever used, every justification for staying stuck, was just that, an excuse. Now, Oshiro, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The accusation you've probably heard 100 times by now. You're not nice anymore. You've changed. What happened to you? And you know what? They're absolutely right. You're not nice anymore. At least, not their version of nice. The one where you said yes when you meant no. Their version of nice was you accepting disrespect with a smile. Their version of nice was you being a doormat and calling it kindness. Nice got you used. Nice got you walked over. Nice got you taken for granted. Nice gave you front row seats to watching people who treated you like shit get treated like royalty by you. So yeah, you're not nice anymore. You're something better. You're real. You're honest. You're boundaried. You're selective. You're intentional. You're protective of your peace, your time, your energy. And if that makes you not nice, then congratulations. They want the old you, the one who absorbed their moods, made excuses for their bullshit, waited around for them to decide you were worth their time. But that version of you, that person didn't love themselves, didn't know their worth, and you're not going back. No matter how many guilt trips they try to send you on, your new attitude isn't mean, it's honest. It's clear. It's direct. You're not attacking anyone. You're just not pretending anymore. You're not fake smiling through disrespect. You're not laughing at jokes at your expense. You're not accepting plans that waste your time. You're not entertaining conversations that drain your soul. You're not giving chances to people who've already shown you who they are. You're simply matching energy, giving exactly what you get. And that's what's really pissing them off. Because when you were nice, when you were accommodating, they could treat you however they wanted, and you'd still be there. You were the constant, the fallback, the one who always picked up the phone, always understood, always forgave. But now you're showing them what reciprocity looks like, what mutual respect looks like, what boundaries look like, and they can't handle the equality. They're losing their shit because the game changed, and nobody gave them a heads up. You didn't announce your transformation. You didn't ask for permission. You didn't warn them that the doormat they'd been walking on was about to become a door that only opens for people who knock with respect. You just changed, and now they're scrambling, trying to figure out the new rules, trying to see if their old tricks still work, and watching them fumble. Honestly, it's entertainment at its finest. Let them call you difficult. Let them say you've changed. Let them tell everyone you're not who you used to be. Because they're right. You're not. You're better. You're stronger. You're more aligned with your truth than you've ever fucking been. And if that truth makes them uncomfortable, if that strength threatens them, if that clarity exposes them, good. They're not your people. Your people, the real ones, they're out there, and they're searching for the exact frequency you're broadcasting right now. You want to know what they're really upset about? It's not your attitude. It's not your boundaries. It's not your new energy. It's that you finally stopped giving a fuck about keeping small to make them comfortable. What they're really upset about is that you stopped being predictable. You stopped being controllable. You stopped being the person they could count on to sacrifice yourself for their comfort. And in their world, where people bend, break, and fold just to keep the peace, your refusal to play that game is a personal fucking offense. It's a threat to their entire dynamic. They're pissed because they invested time in conditioning you. They spent months, maybe years, training you to accept less, expect less, believe you deserved less. And just when they thought you were fully broken in, fully compliant, fully tamed, you woke the fuck up. You snapped out of it. You saw through their programming. And now, all that investment, all that manipulation, worthless, because you're immune to it now. The uncomfortable truth they'll never admit is this. They needed you to stay small, not because you weren't capable of being big, but because your smallness made them feel bigger. They needed you to stay confused, not because you weren't smart, but because your clarity exposed their lies. They needed you to stay stuck, not because you couldn't move forward, but because your progress highlighted their stagnation. Your growth has always been a threat to their fragile ego. And now that you've risen, they're fucking spiraling. They're looking at you and seeing everything they could have been if they had your courage, everything they could have achieved if they had your strength, everything they could have experienced if they had your willingness to walk away from bullshit that didn't serve them. And that comparison, that mirror, it's unbearable. So instead of doing the work, instead of looking inward, they project, they attack, they criticize, they try to drag you back down to the level where they still feel safe. But here's the thing. You're not responsible for their comfort. You're not responsible for their growth. You're not responsible for managing their fragile emotions or protecting their egos. You're done shrinking yourself so they don't feel small. You're only responsible for your evolution, your healing, your path. And if they can't handle that, if your growth threatens them, if your boundaries offend them, that's not your burden. That's your lesson. And the lesson is this: not everyone who was there for the old you deserves access to the new you. Watch how they start rewriting history. Watch how suddenly they remember things differently. How the times they disrespected you become jokes. How the times they used you become favors they did for you. How the times they ghosted you become moments they were just busy. Watch how they gaslight you, trying to make you question your own memories, your own experiences, your own reality. Because if they can make you doubt yourself, they can make you doubt your decision to walk away. But you know what the fuck happened. You remember how it felt. You've got the receipts, even if they're stored in your heart, in that sacred place that knows truth, even when it can't prove it. And that knowing, that unshakable certainty, that's what's keeping you grounded while they're losing their minds. Because they can try to rewrite history, but they can't rewrite reality. And the reality is simple. You outgrew them, and they know it. Let's talk about the loneliness, the quiet that comes with this new chapter. Because nobody prepares you for this part. Nobody tells you that when you level up, when you set boundaries, when you choose yourself, you'll spend a lot of time alone. At first, it feels wrong. It feels like punishment. It feels like maybe you fucked up. Maybe you were too harsh. Maybe you should have given them another chance. But then, something shifts. You realize the solitude isn't lonely. It's sacred. The silence around you isn't empty. It's clean. You start to understand. You weren't losing people. You were losing dead weight. You weren't pushing people away. You were releasing what was never meant to stay. You weren't being abandoned. You were being redirected. And that realization changes everything. Because suddenly, isolation becomes beautiful. You're not alone. You're selective. You're not lonely. You're healing. You're not isolated. You're protected. You've built a fortress around your peace. And only those who respect it, who add to it, get to enter. Yeah, it's quiet. Yeah, the circle's smaller. Yeah, the phone rings less. But the energy, the connection, the quality of what's left, it's real, it's reciprocal, it's nourishing. And once you taste that, once you experience genuine connection, you'll never go back to collecting people. They're losing their shit because you're choosing quality over quantity, peace over popularity, depth over surface-level small talk. And in a world obsessed with followers, likes, and fake validation, your refusal to play the numbers game is revolutionary. It's threatening. Because if everyone did what you're doing, if everyone chose themselves first, the whole fucking system would collapse. Your new attitude is showing people that you don't need them. And that's the ultimate power move. In a world where everyone's desperate to be needed, relevant, included, you're building a life so full, so rich, so complete, that their presence or absence doesn't but affine you, doesn't shake you, doesn't break you. And that independence, that self-sufficiency, that's what really makes them uncomfortable. Because it means they have no leverage. They can't guilt you, because you're not guilty. They can't scare you, because you're not afraid. They can't manipulate you, because you see right through it. They can't use your past, because you've made peace with it. They can't threaten to leave, because you've already let them go. They've got no cards left to play. And that's why they're scrambling. That's why they're trying every tactic in the book. Because for the first time ever, you hold all the power. And here's the wild part. You didn't even have to fight for it. You didn't argue for it. You didn't beg for it. You just stopped giving your power away. You stopped explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped defending your choices to people who never supported them anyway. You stopped trying to prove your worth to people determined to undervalue it. And in that release, that surrender, you found your power. The beautiful isolation you're in right now isn't permanent. It's transitional. You're in the chrysalis, the cocoon. You're transforming. And transformation requires isolation. It requires withdrawal. It requires turning inward. Because you can't become who you're meant to be while you're still performing for people who only loved the mask. Right now, you're shedding that character, killing that version, burning that bridge. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, it's lonely, but it's necessary. So here we are, at the end. Or maybe the beginning. Because this isn't about them anymore. It's not about their comfort, their opinions, or their reactions. This is about you. About who you're becoming. About the life you're building. About the standards you're setting. About the peace you're protecting. And if that makes people uncomfortable, if that pisses them off, if that makes you the villain in their story, then fuck it. Wear that crown. Wear it proudly. Wear it unapologetically. Your new attitude isn't a phase. It's not a tantrum. It's not a temporary reaction to being hurt. It's a permanent shift, a recalibration, an evolution. You've tasted freedom, and you're never going back to captivity. You've felt peace, and you're never going back to chaos. You've experienced self-respect, and you're never going back to self-betrayal. This is who the fuck you are now. And anyone who can't handle it, anyone losing their shit over it, can lose it somewhere far away from you. They want the old you back, but the old you doesn't exist anymore. That version died the moment you decided you were worth more than what they were offering. That version burned the moment you realized you'd rather be alone than disrespected. That version dissolved the moment you understood. Not everyone deserves access to you. And there's no resurrection. There's no going back. There's only forward. And you're moving forward, with or without their approval. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them panic. Let them scramble. Let them gossip. Because while they're busy being confused, angry, bitter, you're busy being free, being peaceful, being aligned, being exactly who you were always meant to be. And that's the ultimate victory. Not proving them wrong, but proving yourself right. Proving you were worth choosing. Proving your intuition was on point. Proving that walking away was the best fucking decision you ever made. Your attitude isn't the problem. Your attitude is the antidote. It's the antibody to their toxicity, the boundary to their disrespect, the firewall to their manipulation, the mirror to their projection,